You actually talked about that in next episode.
Let me start that just section.
Yeah.
Just gonna do that. So Yay, you're here. Welcome to How to Be a Grown-Up with CK and GK. Let's get started. Hello, all the friends. Hi, we're so glad you're here. Welcome to How to Be a Grown-Up. This is the how-to show for women who've mastered the art of conversational tangents. And we'll circle back to that, maybe.
Yep.
I don't know.
Circle back.
Mm-hmm. I'm Caitlin, and with me today, co-hosting for Jenny is Ariella Monti. She's a 5-star Yelp review come to life and the author of the incredible novel Roots in Ink and the forthcoming Bound by Ink in January. So this is so exciting to have you here.
Yay!
Again, I love this.
I'm having a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been great. Sorry. As we're trying to record this, my dog is shoving my chair around as she uses the chair to rub her own butt because she loves butt pats. So if my voice is like shaking around, it's because the dog is literally shaking my chair and moving me all over the place. Anyway, today we're talking about ADHD and creativity because, as my friend Anne, who in our house is known as Friend Anne, says, ADHD is a superpower, and sometimes we all need a little reminder about that. So before we do, I want to remind our listeners that if you like your books, like you like your campfires, a nice slow burn, you can get Ariella's books.
I like it.
For 20% off using promo code CK and GK, all one word, uppercase, on her website, ariellamonti.com, which is linked in the show notes. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to let you take over this conversation because you are the actual creative. That's how you employ yourself. So I'm just gonna sit back and do my crochet while we talk.
Nice. So we've got a whole bunch of sources here. They will be in the places that sources live in the show notes. I pulled from a couple of different places: Attitude Magazine, Scientific America, Scientific American, understood.org, and just our lives, our existence as ADHD people.
As we are, yes.
Yeah. So to get started, Caitlin,
yes,
what comes to mind when you think of creativity?
I think I go to the default definition of like the artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, as I've gotten older, I've come to learn that creativity also involves problem solving. So just, different ways of looking at a problem and how to tackle it, I think would also fall under that category.
Exactly. Yeah. And so when we think about creativity, I think most of us will have those two kind of related but also opposing ideas or definitions.
Yeah.
And we're going to kind of talk about both of them today, but and to start, we need to talk about the aspects of creative cognition, which is basically creative thinking. Like you were saying, like the creative problem solving. And like this kind of goes into what we do as creative people. So there isn't a ton of research on ADHD and creativity as they kind of relate to each other. Like there's a little bit, but there's not a whole bunch of it. But there is a lot of research on creativity and creative thinking.
Okay.
And kind of how that works. And I, as y'all know, am not any sort of brain scientist.
That's why this works, because we are explaining it to you as we hope someone would explain it to us, right?
Right.
Like plain language, jargon free, no doctor, just as it is.
This is going to be very boiled down, and hopefully if it tingles your hyperfocus, you turn it into a hyperfixation and you can dive in more on your own time.
That's why the sources are in the show notes. And go.
Exactly. So the three aspects of creative cognition are divergent thinking, conceptual expansion, and overcoming knowledge constraints.
Those sound like big words. And
they do, right. Yeah. They're actually very simple concepts.
Great.
And stuff that we, especially as ADHD people, do all the time.
Okay.
Because a little bit of research that there is on ADHD and creativity has shown that these three aspects of creative cognition are strengths in people with ADHD.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And it's not to say that like neurotypical people don't have these things. Like this is a thing that like all people do. But people with ADHD seem to, the little bit of research out there shows that people with ADHD seem to have an edge. And it seems to be that these are strengths.
Okay.
So divergent thinking. This is the ability to think of many ideas from a single starting point. So in this very unscientific, very watered down example of divergent thinking, so you're talking about birds with your ADHD friends, and 15 minutes later, you're discussing the new movie with Chris Evans and Pedro Pascal, and you're like, yes. How did we get here?
Yes.
But right. And we all do it. We're like, how did we go from birds to, love triangle movie? Which I have thoughts on, even though I didn't see it, but that's for another
There's a whole episode in there somewhere.
That's a whole nother episode. If you trace, that's actually a really good example of the next one. Okay. Anyway.
Okay. See, circle back.
It's happening. So if you trace the conversation, you can see like how one thought did lead to another. But, you're kind of like, how did we get here? But if you actually sit there and you're like, well, this thought led to this, which led to this, which led to this. So that's divergent thinking.
I find myself doing that. All the time where I'm like, or when someone else might be talking to me about something, I make connections to like 4 different things, which is why I have to tell 4 different stories in relation to your one story. Because and sometimes those connections are really obscure, and I find myself doing it in my head, and then the person I'm talking to who is not an ADHD person will be like, wait, what? How does that go with this? And you're like, oh, because it's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon where I did this and then I was talking about this and then I got here. And that's why you can talk about The Office in relation to Shakespearean whatever, like, you know what I mean? The connection is so random, but it does come from a place of understanding what you were talking about initially and where all those like synapses went in my head at one time. So
exactly.
Super fun.
The next one is conceptual expansion. So that's the ability to loosen the boundaries of concepts, which is a very sciencey way of saying that you're going to MacGyver something. Nice. So when was the last time you MacGyvered something?
This week when I was trying to stop my dog from eating what's in the cat litter box.
Ooh.
I don't know why some dogs need to do that, but I had to rig up something in order to make her stop, or at the very least make a loud noise or something so I would know she was in there, because as clean as I keep those boxes, I can't stay on top of it all the time. So that's what it was this week.
Yeah. I had one person tell me once that they didn't like cats because cats were dirty and they used litter boxes. And I'm like, my dog eats the poop out of litter boxes.
There. Yeah. So
I feel like they're both kind of equally
gross,
disgusting animals.
Yeah. I have an injury on my hand, and the doctor was like, from my dog, and my doctor was like, so just so you know, no matter how much hydrogen peroxide or frankly bleach we put in there will always be bacteria in that wound. So that's why we don't stitch dog bites. And I was like, oh, great. So, and I mean, now I'm on antibiotics because of this. So like dogs are gross too.
Right.
And now we are not talking about the topic. Circling back. Circling back.
Circling back. Okay.
MacGyvered. I MacGyvered this week. Okay.
Right. You MacGyvered something. So say you've got like a paperclip, and the primary use of a paperclip is to hold individual pieces of paper together. That's the concept of the paperclip. Conceptual expansion is when you use that paperclip to do something like pop the SD card out of your cell phone.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about how you're going to use a Clippy reference. I was waiting for the Microsoft Word Clippy reference, but yes, I see what you're saying.
So that is a good example of the next one, which is overcoming knowledge constraints. So This is the ability to overcome recently presented information. So if we're using the paperclip example, if I ask an ADHDer and a neurotypical person to come up with a brand new way to hold paper together, and then I gave them examples of tools that they're already available, like paperclip, staples, and binder clips, the neurotypical person is more likely to come up with an invention that incorporates aspects of the examples. But the ADHDer is more likely to come up with an invention that is completely new. So the fact that like you connected paperclip to Clippy, which has nothing to do with holding papers together, and has everything to do with like Microsoft Word, is kind of an example of that thinking, you know?
I'm unmedicated today, so it's going to be a ride. So the real connections and all the things are coming out today. So, all right. Well, that's pretty cool. Okay. That's all super interesting.
Yeah. So, and these are all like cognitive processes that we're doing every day, and they're just kind of like happening in the background, you know, while we're existing. But whether we're talking about like creative problem solving or working on art, all of these things are just kind of happening in the background, and those are strengths that we have. Other creative strengths that come with ADHD is that wide lens of attention, that, you know, the ability to see the big picture and how everything works together as a whole. It can be really overwhelming when we do that.
Yeah.
But the ability to sort of see everything and all of like the moving parts can lead to a lot of like creativity, creative problem solving, and creative ideas.
That's super interesting, because I always feel like I miss the forest for the trees. Like I really do feel that way, because I think all of the little details, the logistics of something bog me down and make me feel anxious, because I need to know how all of the little pieces are going to work. But maybe that's not the ADHD. That's the anxiety that I also take pharmaceuticals for. But I see what you're saying about how, like, I can do those things. Yes.
Yeah. And think about it as like, so say you're going to sit down and do a project. If you are planning the project, you have everything kind of in front of you, and you can kind of see the whole picture, and breaking down to get to the whole picture is part of our weaknesses.
Yeah.
But like there is this like ability to kind of see everything, and I don't remember where I was going with that.
Well, but also I'm just thinking about like how all the little pieces matter in that big picture. Maybe that's kind of what I fixate on, where it's like I'm seeing, okay, well, if we're talking about, for example, event signage, where, you know, one of my clients will show up at a conference or an event and what the booth should look like. I'm not good with all the little pieces that go into that. But if I am thinking about what I need to create for the signage, I can see how like this piece needs to look over here and this one needs to come together in order for the signage to look cohesive and all of that stuff. So stuff does make sense in my head, and then and the details matter in that. But yes, I can see what you're talking about there. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And we got to remember too that a lot of this stuff is going to be like, it's going to be impacted by the environment that we're in. And that's kind of what we're going to, that we're going to talk about like in the next episode. But
yeah,
so it might feel like, oh man, like I really suck at that. Like that is I would not consider that a strength, but it might be because of everything, like the world in which we live. Like we're not able to tap into those strengths as well as we could have if we were in like a different kind of environment.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like if the world wasn't burning, like maybe
then the event signage wouldn't overwhelm me. Yeah, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But even our hyperfocus can be considered a creative strength because we become consumed by things that we enjoy. And so if we find something creative that we do enjoy, we want to learn more about it. We want to practice more often. And so we start to get good at it. Maybe not like it's not going to be our career good, but we get to be good at it enough, or we overcome a problem enough times that it gives us like a little dopamine cookie. And so we do it more. And so like eventually, we start to really hone those skills because it's a thing that, that we really enjoy doing and that we can hyper focus on it. And risk taking, like, sure. I mean, all of these things can have like a threshold, like they're a strength until they're a weakness. But like, that idea of like, sure, why not? Let's see what happens.
Right.
When it comes to
creativity, like, right. We're obviously we're not talking about like risk taking and like cliff jumping. We're talking about like problem solving and actual artistic expression. Like, what's the harm in testing these two colors if I mix them together? Like, why not see what happens? Yeah, that's very different. But yes, I see that too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'll do that. Pottery is really great with that because you could have something and then like you put it in the kiln and then it's like, I don't know what's going to happen when it comes, like, what is it going to be when it comes out of the kiln? You know, like if I did something wrong, like the whole thing could explode, And so I'll just go and be like, oh, let's see what happens when I do this. And then it comes out of the kiln and it's like, oh, this is actually pretty interesting,
And the other piece of that is with something like that is, okay, so your structure didn't work while you were building it. So what's the worst that happens? You flatten it out and start over? Like there are things like that where it's like the creativity and the risk taking are completely part of the process. So that makes a lot of sense to me too.
Yeah. Yeah. So
that's the strength of our creativity. That's one of the benefits or multiple superpowers we have within this umbrella of the creativity superpower. So next week, what are you sharing with us?
So next week we'll get into the challenges around creativity because, like with anything with ADHD, like with every up, there's a down. And, everything's a strength until it's a weakness, or everything's a weakness until it's a strength. And so we'll get into the challenges around creativity and how to work with your brain when, it gets a little difficult.
Yeah. So. Well, make sure that if you're not already subscribed to our show, make sure that you tap subscribe right now so you don't miss that episode. We'll be right back after a quick break. Okay, y'all. POV. You find a diary exposing forbidden magic, and the hot museum caretaker's life depends on you burning it. Roots in Ink, the debut novel by Ariella Monti, is the fantasy romance for rebels. Use promo code CK and GK to get 20% off your copy at ariellamonti.com. Again, that's all caps CKANDGK for 20% off on ariellamonti.com. Get your copy for 20% off today. And And scene. Okay. We're back. You were talking about hyperfixations as a strength. I am dying to hear what your current one is right now.
Well, before we started recording, I was hyperfixated on organizing all my event crap.
So, yes.
It was very likely that I was going to text you and be like, I'm going to be 15 minutes late because I was organizing.
You got to ride that out.
I've got a half hour. Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, I saw a window. I'm like, let me put this stuff away. And I was just hyper fixated on getting everything organized so that I can store it for a couple of weeks before my next event. So
the other problem with that is the needing 15 minutes. That's the time blindness. That's one of the dangers of that hyperfixation, is that you completely underestimate how long that hyperfixation is going to last, or the dopamine need, right? Like you just don't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gotcha. I don't know that this is a hyperfixation for me, but I will say this is my new favorite thing. So we'll go with that for now. There is a product that I have discovered called Bite Away. No, I am not sponsored. We've discussed this. Please sponsor me. I will happily take your sponsoringness, folks. Bite Away is the GOAT of mosquito products. Let me explain. It's like a little thing that looks like a pen. And it's about the size of like a hand sanitizer spray bottle. It is small, okay? You can put it in your purse if you're going out, whatever. And it has batteries. You turn it on, it powers on for 3 seconds or 5, whichever one, doesn't matter. But there's 2 settings on it, and you put this ceramic tip on the mosquito bite, like directly on top of it when it's itching, or whether it's not, doesn't matter, because sometimes they flare up and itch hours later, right? And it gets hot, like it's a ceramic plate. So if you're someone who's ever used like ceramic curling iron or straightener, you know these things conduct heat, and it zaps the top of your mosquito bite, not like an electrical thing, but it just gets hot, and then it kills whatever that bacteria or whatever it is that that mosquitoes leave on your skin in their saliva that makes you itch. It sounds way more complicated because of the way that I described it, but think of like a fingertip getting really hot on your leg for 3 seconds. That's it. That's all it is. And then it doesn't itch at all. And I have severe reactions to mosquito bites. I don't know if I just released copious amounts of carbon dioxide, because if you are next to me outside and you get bitten, you will not get bitten if you're next to me. Like, I am just the magnet. And now that I have the dog, I have to go in the backyard, and it's humid in Texas, and the mosquitoes are ridiculous. And no matter how much you spray, they still are there. So I have to have this pen on me at all times. And I love this thing. As soon as I know the bite's there, I put the little Bite Away tip on there, and it goes in 3 seconds, and it kind of hurts. Not going to lie, it's a little painful, but it's only for 3 seconds, and it's totally worth it, because then I don't itch anymore. Completely 100% worth it. And all these people are like, it's hurting me. No, it's not. It's helping you. Let it burn.
That is wild.
It is the best.
That is crazy.
It is, those, like, there's that whole, the bug bite, it's literally called the bug bite thing, where you like suck the venom or whatever it is.
Yeah.
No, I thought that worked. I was wrong. That does not work. This works. Okay. I also like lavender hydrosol, which is a spray you can get on Amazon, or you can make it yourself. Just look it up, and it does feel better, but it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. This works. I have bites all over my body, and they do not itch. And usually I'm the person who itches for several days after these bug bites. And I am not itching. I'm so obsessed with this thing. I literally carry it around from room to room in the house, just in case I get bitten by a mosquito that we accidentally let in, or I feel a bite later after I let the dog out. It's already on the website. Go to ckandgkpodcast.com and click on resources, and then go to our favorite finds. And it's a direct link to it right there. I'm, again, not sponsored. I just firmly believe in this product if you are somebody who itches from mosquito bites all summer long like I do.
This is life-changing information for so
It is
many.
This is why I would consider it a hyperfixation. This is life-changing information that I am giving you. And I'm telling literally everyone that I know that you need this product in your life. So by the way, that's
amazing.
Best thing ever. And people are like, it's expensive. The batteries run out. They gave you batteries. What product ever gives you batteries these days? Shut up. Go buy some Amazon batteries. They're relatively, they come with my like order every month. Who cares? Just the batteries run out after too many uses. It would be nice with rechargeable. Yeah, it would. But you know what? It's not. So just put the batteries in, shut up, and put it on your leg. You're fine. Feels great. I'm literally standing there like, it burns. Oh, so much better. Like that's all the time. So dumb, but I don't care. Go get this thing if you itch from mosquito bites. Bite away. Made in Germany. I'm not even joking. Sometimes those Germans make good stuff, man.
Yep.
All right. I firmly believe in this product. But let me shut up. What did we get done this week?
The same thing of my hyperfixation is also organizing my event crap.
Nice.
I finally got that done. So now my craft table is free and I can
be creative now.
I can sew stuff or do some pottery. I have a couple of things that need to be glazed. So now I have a table that I can do some glazing on. Yeah.
The word glazed. Well, obviously I think of a donut, but I was watching an episode of The Valley on Bravo, because if you've listened to the show before at all, you probably know that I'm a big Bravo person. And this girl on the show was like, before I go to bed, I look like a glazed donut. There's so much lotion on it. And I was like, yes, I do that too. Got like my lotion, and then I put on like my hydro mask thing, and then I put like Vaseline over it. I really do look like a glazed donut sometimes. But that's whenever I hear glaze, that's where I go with it now. I look like a glazed donut when I go to sleep. Anyway, I wouldn't say that I finally got this done because this is a new item. But for our anniversary, which coincidentally is also on my son's birthday, we were having a hard time. We like to do like theme gifts. It's like, 13 years and the traditional item is lace or whatever. So we were looking for stuff like that. And I was like, do not get me anything lace, because you know where men's minds go when they hear
I was just
lace.
gonna say,
I was like, do not, this is not the time for that. But we were talking about getting a new like credenza TV stand thing. Our TV is mounted, but there was the one that we had was like, one, it was too low for the space. So there's like this big white space and you could see all the cords behind it, because whatever genius made this did not put a back panel on it. So you can see all the bunches of cords and stuff. And I hate it. I hate it so much. And I've hated it for years, because we could have bundled the cords and we could have done a thing, but that never got done. And I'm not blaming anyone, but I'm not in charge of the technology over there. So it's got to be someone else's fault. But I was like, for my anniversary, you can get me a new credenza thing. And it can be a twofold gift. One, I get a project because I get to build something, which I like to do. And two, I never have to see the cords ever again.
Yeah.
And that's just the gift that keeps on giving. So I built that thing. It's pretty big. It's pretty big. It's like 6 feet long and probably about 3 feet high or so. It's large.
Oh, wow.
And it has all these shelves, and it's got barn doors that like slide across. So there's the middle section, and then you can open the barn doors. And I built that sucker in like 4 hours, man.
Nice.
I was so proud of myself, because that's what happened. Like, I got fixated on all this crap in my living room. And I don't like it. And I want to get the project done. So that's my hyperfixation win, and the task I got done once I built that thing. It's super cute too. I really like it.
Nice. I want to see pictures.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Yeah. Okay. So this has been ADHD in real time, or, recorded time with Caitlin and Ariella. So Jenny would say. Make good choices. Go forth and make all the things. Just if you're going to make stuff from a new hyperfixation, just go get those supplies from a Buy Nothing group. Okay?
Right.
Yeah. And use it on your craft table.
And,
hey, love
and
you,
don't
mean
feel
it.
bad about
The mess.
Diverging tangents.
And how The Office connects to Shakespeare. Okay, bye!
Right.
Wow.
Hey friends, thanks for listening to the CK and GK podcast. Find us at CK and GK podcast on Instagram and Twitter, and rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or anywhere else that you pod. See you next time.